SAP, Ben, you know, SAP, massive business, trillions of dollars of transactions. So how much opportunity is out there for social enterprise to tap into the volume, and what advice and tools would you suggest to help them do it?
Yeah, and just first off, I want to say it's an honor to be on stage, share the stage with these very inspirational people. I mean, to hear, you know, how you challenge corporations, the creativity that you use to support purpose, I think is just awesome. And you know, I think the opportunity is huge, and there's really no better time to actually take advantage of that opportunity than the time that we live in right now. And just maybe I could start by way of introduction. I lead SAP Ariba, so it's a business focused on procurement within SAP for Asia Pacific Japan. I moved to Singapore in April. Originally, my roots are from Texas, and I came out here for two reasons. One was just professional opportunity, being part of a technology company. There's no other part of the world right now than Asia Pacific Japan where the growth in technology is growing at the rate that it is. But personally, I've got two little kids and a third on the way. And I just thought it was an opportunity to expose my kids to different cultures, different behaviors and belief systems, and have them be more of a global citizen than just kind of be a product of their environment. And SAP Ariba, maybe what I think I could do in sort of adding some value to this awesome panel today is just maybe provide the lens of procurement a bit. I've been in the procurement world for 17 years, and SAP Ariba's mission is pretty simple. It's to make procurement awesome, and we achieve that through the use of an online marketplace. It's actually the largest marketplace in the world for buyers and sellers. There's 2.8 million companies that transact on the network for $1.5 trillion in commerce a year. I mean, it's actually crazy if you think about it. It's like almost 2% of the world's GDP goes over the Ariba platform, and you start to think about the power and the impact that can have on businesses, and it's pretty amazing. It's more than Amazon, Alibaba, and eBay combined. But it's business to business, so people don't often hear of it the same way that they hear of consumer platforms. But when you look at procurement as a function, historically I think they've been relegated to sort of back office functions where they're negotiating contracts. But there are amazing ways to elevate the role of procurement, and one of them right now is what I'd say is in purpose-driven procurement and improving people's lives. And the reason the time right now I think is right is there's a couple trends that are happening in the market. One is just consumer sentiment. So 9 out of 10 consumers expect that companies not only make a profit, but they also operate responsibly in a way where they're having a social impact. And so this is kind of board level stuff in terms of what gets the attention of organizations now. But the other thing, and this is the reason procurement gets so involved, is that companies more and more are outsourcing their business. Instead of hiring labor, they go with temporary contractors. That's actually it's been quite big in Australia for a while. But on the manufacturing side, there's a lot of outsourced manufacturing that happens. And so these companies do this to try to generate the next level of savings, but they can't actually outsource responsibility. They still own that. That's still their brand into the business. And so procurement's role is becoming a lot more strategic in that they can impact that with their supply base, including social enterprises. And if you look at it from procurement's perspective, they tend to look at a purpose-driven framework typically within 4 categories. There's human and workplace rights. There's the environment. There's the community that they operate within, and then there's sort of the economic area and doing things like responsible sourcing. And so there's frameworks for this, and this is now up there with, you know, driving cost reduction and profit for companies. And when you know, most procurement people absolutely care about purpose for the same reason you mentioned, Colin. I mean, it's personal for people, and it gives meaning to a job. It gives meaning to my job to be able to enable companies and procurement functions to be able to make a difference. And, you know, they have a lot of challenges that I think, you know, as a social enterprise, it's good to be aware of, because it opens opportunity, I think, for you. One challenge is just sometimes it's very difficult to find social enterprises, to find qualified sources of supply. The other thing is, this is an area that, just because their procurement functions are within finance, they need to measure their results. So how do you measure social impact? That's stuff that's still kind of emerging, and there's not a lot of, you know, external sources to sort of benchmark yourself against and say, you know, year over year, am I making a difference? How do I bring that back within my organization? And it's just hard often to get the buy-in within an organization, to get the attention, and to be able to balance, you know, purpose with making a profit, right? And often that means they still end up doing business with, you know, what they would view as non-compliant suppliers. So, you know, the advice I would offer, right, to take advantage of this opportunity to tap into, you know, into something like our network, is something that, instead of coming from me, what I did was I interviewed a group of CPOs, and I asked them the same question, right? And I kind of took the themes that they had, and I've got the themes here that they shared that I wanted to share with you guys. So one that kind of was a theme was getting found, to actually, you know, to be able to make yourself aware to these businesses. And there were three things inside of it. One was have a very concise mission and very clear benefits, and be able to kind of be very specific about that when you're meeting with customers. Also, offer rich data or information, right? Any designations you have, any certifications you have that you know, that these companies often care about, and also, you know, join these networks, join these business networks where you can actually be discovered, where they go for all suppliers, not just social enterprises. The second one that I thought was really interesting was they said, you know, actually embrace your strength. Often, as we've heard, corporations and social enterprises don't speak the same language. And some people could view that as a disadvantage, but if you actually lean into that as a strength, what you often bring is a sort of a diversity to these companies, and they appreciate that from an innovation perspective. They appreciate that you bring in an emotional intelligence, that you bring a different point of view. Even generationally, you might be different than the people you're interacting with and the average age within these businesses. And being able to use that to work towards a shared purpose and bring that innovation in is actually something that they appreciate. And then the third one they said, and I was actually presenting at an event about a month ago in Sydney with Fortescue Metals Group, who's a big customer of ours. And one of the things that they talked about was creating sort of this win-win situation. Like, understand our mission, right? And their mission's to be the safest, lowest cost iron ore producer, right? So show that you can be at parity, right, for being competitive on price, being competitive on safety, whatever their mission is. But then you top that off with the fact that you're driving purpose, and they will go with you every day. The other element of kind of creating this win-win is the biggest value that is actually being provided is brand value. And with brand value, it's a couple things. It's making sure you understand what their brand values are, being able to clearly demonstrate how you align to those values. But then the third one, and I thought this was the most interesting, was helping them market those values. Because you could do business with these procurement functions, but then you ultimately won't keep that business if it's not actually having an impact on their brand. And procurement professionals aren't necessarily good marketing or salespeople, and so they often need support with, how do I actually message this, to actually show this is a way in which we're supporting our brand. So that's the advice that I would offer to the audience, and supporting everyone's purpose. For me, my personal purpose, right, is to make my kids proud that I'm actually, improving people's lives. So, we absolutely, are proud to be able to do that both with procurement organizations, but also all the social enterprises that utilize our marketplace.
Brilliant. Ben, it is interesting because we're a business that's an intermediary, so we provide service to big sending partners as well as a big procurer. So we have this interesting dynamic as well of selling the message of what we can offer in terms of good quality and sustainable practice in our business, as we also connect into the procurement side of things ourselves. So again, that ecosystem and that message working is hugely important.
Yeah,
so,
and it creates a network effect at some point too, which is kind of exciting if you think about social networks, right? The ones that are actually powerful ultimately kind of create this network effect, and when you're able to do that, it can have an even bigger impact.
Brilliant, thank you.